Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Two Old Guys Reselling Podcast. Episode, I had it wrote down, I done lost it.
72. Yeah.
72. Wow, what a week. What a week. Got quite a bit to talk about today, so try to get through as much of this as we possibly can because my picture's crooked, ain't it? Or is my camera just crooked?
I think it might be the picture.
It may be. I'll have to fix it later. Can't do it from my chair. Yeah, so what a week. Right off the bat, we want to give a shout out to a viewer, I guess. I didn't realize she watched because I don't think she's ever commented to my knowledge that I can remember. But Lilac Seller, that is Lilac, Cellar, correct? Like,
yeah,
like a cellar, a basement, or whatever. Mm-hmm. She sent us these. You're going to need milk for that.
And my favorite.
Yep.
I always put milk in my
coffee. Turtles in a cup.
Yeah.
We got Door Country, I think's what it said.
Well, see, I got to pick.
That's not fair. How did I know this was going to be that way? I don't drink coffee, so I don't care. I mean, I really don't care.
I should have took a black marker and put "rent" on the back of yours.
Rent, that's right. Yeah, not ruined, but rent.
Rent.
R-U-R-N-T.
That's it.
There is. Oh man. Oh, what a story.
Good stuff,
man.
Don't
drink that curdled milk, but drink the. My nephew still gives me a hard time over that. He's like, there's nothing wrong with that. I said, I don't care. I do not care. Just to look at that milk and see clumps in it makes me want to throw up. It might be the best stuff ever, but not for me.
Yeah, well, to each their own, right? I mean,
I guess.
I love it, man. We're out of milk right now. Actually, I used the last of it. We had pasture appreciation this weekend, and we kind of, because we'd had come out of our camp meeting the week before, and we normally have it that Sunday that was after camp meeting, and I brought it up. I had a member call me and remind us, and I said, yeah, we don't need to do that to ourselves, after being in camp meeting all week, and so we pushed it back for a week, and I actually suggested that we do like baked potatoes and salad, and then let everybody bring a dessert and maybe a little, like a piece of chicken or something. Keep it simple this time, because we normally bring like a big meal, like a homecoming meal. So anyway, I volunteered to bake off the potatoes and do all the salad prep, and I made the most ranch dressing I've ever made in my life at one time. So anyway, I used up the rest of our milk as well as the milk that I had bought to go in it. But yeah, I've been missing having our milk around. That kind you got to shake up to get it to mix again before you pour it.
Mm-mm. So, no, I don't know.
It is what it is.
Gosh, I don't buy that kind of milk.
It's the only kind to get, man.
Yeah, that clabbered, nasty, grody.
Nah.
You know what? You're not going to need milk if it's going to be like
overstating it. You're overstating it.
No, listen, as a kid, I went to the refrigerator a time or two, and bless my mom's heart, she would just keep stuff until it absolutely went moldy bad, like it was obviously going to be bad. And I would get me a glass of milk and take a drink of it and be like, ugh, because it had went bad and soured. That's one of the worst things ever, like ever, for a kid, an adult, anybody, is to get a mouthful of clabbered, nasty, soured milk. Like it makes you want to throw up everywhere.
I guess.
Have you never done that?
I'm usually pretty careful about milk. If I think
I am now.
No, I mean, I that's been one of those things. I'm so OCD about so many things like that. Like, I mean, you don't smell the rim because the rim's always going to smell a little bit bad from the residue. It kind of dries out. But I'm saying you can't really go by that, because if you've had it in the refrigerator for several days and you use it regular, it's going to have a bad little odor around where the cap goes. But I generally always, when I pour a glass of milk, if it's been in there for a while, I give it a little small taste test, like barely get a little bit just to make sure, because that's not somewhere I want to go. If I'm going to drink buttermilk, I want it to be buttermilk, not just rotten sweet milk. That's not. No, thank you.
Buttermilk's so gross. My dad used to do the buttermilk and cornbread, Oh, yeah. Gosh. I don't know. Me and my dad share a lot in common. Like pinto beans and mayonnaise, that type of thing. But the Buttermilk is not one of them. I do not buttermilk at all. There's nothing buttery about that milk, by the way.
Yeah.
Nasty, sour, rotten milk's what it is. Are you writing something down?
No, it's something I wanted to remember to ask you about, and it had slipped my mind. So I was going to make me a note, because if I don't, 10 minutes from now, I won't remember again. It's nothing bad.
Are you like that too? Because I'm definitely like that.
Oh, absolutely. I always have my notepad, and it's full of little things that I want to make sure I remember. Not just our stuff we normally do on the show, just things that I feel like I need to hold on to, because I think it's important to mention. But absolutely,
that's a good idea, especially when you get our age. Like, I can't remember anything.
Oh, my mind's a steel trap, but it's like the crab trap style. It's full,
Mine's rusted completely.
Yeah, it's just full of holes. Just,
you can set it, but it takes like 100 pounds to get it to go off. Speaking of remembering something, we just mentioned this amongst ourselves before the show. We're approaching the end of the year. This is fourth quarter. Yeah. For those of you that still sell stuff, this is fourth quarter. I'm just an observer and a spectator right now. With all we've had going on, building and trying to update.
Here we go with excuses again.
Yep, here's my excuses. But okay, we're coming up on the end of the year, the beginning of the year. It's time to start thinking about what you're going to do for taxes and accounting and all that. Yeah. We got you set up. My Reseller Genie. In our description, you will find a link that you can sign up. You will get a 30-day free trial, and I promise you, if you need something to help you with your taxes and your accounting and reselling, if you're not a nerd like me that has 14,000 spreadsheets, this will help you. And you get a month free to try it out. Yep. If you don't like it, you ain't lost nothing.
That's right.
And Faith and Paul are great folks that run My Reseller Genie. They're very nice people, and they will take care of you and help you out. So go check that out, because I think it's going to help a lot of people. Actually, it's already helped a lot of people, but they're expanding. They're going to have a baby. That's exciting.
Yep.
So good things happening over there.
And there's no better time, honestly. And that's what we had talked about when we had them on, because and I'm hoping, I got to hold myself accountable. That's one of the hardest things to do, man. But my plan has been to try my best to be prepared come January 1 to start off on that foot of using their software. And of course, they had given us a little trial period, but even after that, to kind of stick with that, to have an easier time. Because I did get my taxes done. You remember me bringing that up, and you're like Johnny on the spot. They come to you like, "Oh, my taxes are done." Well, congratulations, good for you, Caleb.
I get them done.
Yeah, congratulations. I'm still proud of you, but I waited till I could sniff October because I felt, when you were filing your taxes, I was automatically not even thinking about doing them. I said, this is exactly the perfect time to say, just go ahead and give me that extension. So I didn't even think about starting them. I just said, extension. This may be bad. I may have shared this before. I'm just going to throw this out there. When I worked at the school, when I was a teacher all those years, and I don't feel like I was a bad teacher by no means. I don't feel like I was the best one there. I never said that. I never felt that way, but I did try really hard to do a good job and be prepared. But I'm going to be honest, man. I didn't get on board for this planning 3 and 4 weeks ahead of time. People be like, they'd be telling you, you'd be sitting at lunch and like, I just make copies of my test for, it's going to be at the end of the month. And it'll be like the 3rd of the month. I'm like, how do you know you're even going to be there? And they'd laugh at me because I said, look, my philosophy is this. I can make a test out tonight if I need to make a test out. Mm-hmm. I've been doing this a long time. I'm not struggling to be able to make a test out. I don't know if I'll be here a month from now. Why am I going to do work that's due a month from now when I may not even be here? I said, the Lord may come back. I may not live that long. I said, I know that sounds morbid. I'm not trying to be morbid. I'm just saying I'm not going to do the work for 2 weeks from now today when there's plenty of things today that I need to be worried about today. So I'm not going to worry about tomorrow's stuff before it gets here. I'm going to try my best. There's some things you can't wait. I'm not saying wait till the last minute. I really not. And I didn't wait till, the very last day to submit my taxes after I filed my extension. But I am saying, sometimes I do feel like we get in such a hurry to do things that aren't necessary, and so I try to avoid that. That's been my philosophy. Seriously, like I don't I try to stay clear of being like a procrastinator. I don't want always having things that are overdue chasing me. You know what I mean?
Right.
But I'm not interested in always exceeding every deadline by a month. You know, I'm just not. There's plenty of other things to spend my time on besides that in the meantime. So anyway, let me know what y'all think about that. You know, is anybody else like me or y'all? Caleb, I feel like you're probably more on the other side, like, because you'd have your big bank of listings made up, and there's nothing wrong with that. You know, it's different personality types. Mine is like this, just why.
I used to be more that way when I did things. Yeah.
Well, yeah. I mean, back when you was a reseller.
I agree that, you know, there's a boundary there, no matter which side of the coin you fall on.
Yeah.
There's a boundary there. I'm not going to have 6 months worth of listings sitting in a bank. I think that's foolish. But to have, say, 2 weeks, a week, 2 weeks, just when I was doing that, the reason I was doing that is, say I was sick for a couple of days. So all I got to do is get up and pack and I'm done. Or Tanya could pack and I can lay in bed being sick, whatever. But I could still drop my 10 or 20 a day for a week straight and really not lose any momentum. That was my thinking behind that. But I do agree, you know, I think it was Archie Biscuit Butt that said at one time in one of our lives that a listing that's just drafted can't sell and can't make you money. So that's a good point too. Like if I have 200 drafts sitting there, I can't sell 200 drafts. So there's definitely an argument for both sides of that thinking. You just have to look at it like, what are you wanting? It has to be personal to you. What are you wanting out of your business? And what I need to say something right quick before I forget. I think I said you get a free month of My Reseller Genie. I think I lied. I don't believe you get a free month. I just wanted to clarify that before I went forward. We got a free month. That's what made me think of that. They gave us a free month to actually be able to say we tried it and do we want to enforce it. Yeah, exactly. So sorry that I misled you folks. But they do give you 14 days. Once you sign up, you can cancel within 14 days.
Yeah.
If you don't like it within that first 2 week trial, you can get a full refund. So it's still a risk-free type thing.
Yeah, because they want people to try it out. I mean, they realize that that's how confident they are in the product. I mean, because there's a lot of things that give you a free week.
Yeah.
I mean, and a free week to me is a pretty long time.
Yeah.
But I mean, the fact that they give you 2 full weeks with it, I mean, it's long enough, and it's not. Nobody's going to take two free weeks and put everything they've got in it. You know.
No.
The idea is to be able to fully examine it to see what all it offers. And they're that confident in their product that if they give you access for 2 weeks, that you're going to start using it. I believe that's what it really comes down to. If it was 3 days, you wouldn't have time to really take it all in. And I don't know that you can do it in 2 weeks even.
Well, it's a good sales tactic too. You know, it's not that they're trying to convince you it's good. Like you just said, it's a good product. Yeah. It's a well thought out, well developed product. But that was a really good point. 2 weeks is probably not enough time to even dive into all of it. Because I know I dived in there for my month that I had, and I was like, man, this is a very in-depth product. Like there is a lot of information, you know, and there's just the keeping up with all your expenses for you. You know, I can plug all that into an Excel sheet, or I use Google, so a Google sheet, but I still have to plug all that in. But once I upload my data, that plugs in for me. They keep up with all your inventory and stuff. So anyway, this isn't a commercial, the whole show, but anyway, we just want to let you guys know about that. There are
also a quick shout out for Planes to Profit again. Want to make sure we don't forget to mention that early in the show. Coming up soon in March, I believe.
Yep.
You can find more information if you just Google Planes to Profit 2025. It'll carry you. You'll find your link. You can go and look at all the details. I do think they've officially opened up ticket sales now for that. I believe they have. Now, don't hold me to it, but I'm pretty sure I saw that they were officially open. I believe initially it was only opened. They opened it initially to those that attended the first year's event to give them kind of a first chance to buy tickets and wanted to return. But I'm pretty sure that he opened that Grams and Pops opened it up for anyone else that's wanting to attend. So, and
Good deal.
same way, hotels, same place, downtown Omaha, same hotel, and said felt like they had a pretty exciting itinerary already in the works. So,
Good deal. Good deal. I seen also over the weekend. Sorry, I forgot to silence my phone again. But I seen over the weekend also that Ray, Nashville Flipper, was he announced. Oh my gosh, I'm gonna silence this. Sorry, but he announced the dates for the Nashville meetup. So he's doing that again. He may have some help this year. Maybe did I see Angie Resells maybe was helping him?
I think so, maybe. Yeah.
But like I think it's April 25th through the 27th, if I'm not mistaken. And that's tough for me. That's a tough weekend. I'm going to attempt going this year, but I say that to say this. So April 23rd is my son's birthday. So that's the weekend of his birthday, and he works. So if I'm going to do anything with Logan, it's going to be that weekend. So it makes it tough. I might get Logan to go with me. Maybe, I don't know. We'll just have to see how it goes. But yeah, I mean, these events are pretty fun to go to too. They're interesting because you get to meet some really cool people.
Right.
I missed last year. My best friend, Ken Bill, I believe he was there. I think that's what I seen. And him and Jill. And I missed that. So he was literally an hour and a half. I guess it's closer to an hour and 45 minutes away. And I didn't get to take the opportunity to meet him. But that's what happens. But lots of cool people go to these, and we would encourage you to go if you're able. And I know I've seen the price tag on Grams and Pops. They're charging $150, I believe it is.
I can't remember.
But for all that you're going to do, and the time you're going to get to spend, you can't get a hotel here. You couldn't go have a mini vacation here for that. So, and
I haven't looked at the details. I haven't went over to the website since they opened it up and a lot of added everything. I know that he at least intended to. Last year, for the price you paid with theirs, it included all the hotel provided transportation. Wow. And so you didn't, if they would even shuttle you, if you flew in, they would shuttle you from the airport to the hotel. And then the hotel provided shuttles to wherever we needed to go if we wanted to go. And then they also rented, the bus to carry us to the thrifting things and stuff like that. And then one meal was covered. One of our dinners out was covered. And with the hotel, now paying for your room is separate from that charge, of course, right? But they did negotiate for them. They had a really fancy breakfast every morning, really nice breakfast. Wow. Big breakfast, a big, beautiful breakfast. Come on.
How much you get paid for this ad?
No, it's the just big, beautiful breakfast. But seriously, thought I'd make fun of Trump a little bit. Yeah, but it was really good. I mean, the breakfast was awesome, seriously, and it included that for the mornings that you were there. So. It would be a $15 breakfast or more, it's like a buffet style breakfast. So $15 to $20 if you went somewhere and ate buffet breakfast. Yeah. And it was as much as you want to eat of pretty much about anything that you would think you might want to have for breakfast, So
you're talking me into going now.
Yeah. I mean, if you factor all that in,
yeah, it's a good value.
As far as the amount you're paying to be there, that more than, that's just break even. There's no money being made if you cover the price. If you had to buy your breakfast, buy one meal out, and pay for your own transportation while you're out, rent a car, it'd be way more than that. Well, and if you're driving in, just your gas driving around and, your parking fees and all that, still, I mean, all that stuff adds up. So,
yeah. Well, you know from experience that these meetups cost money. You cannot put these things on cheap. There is no cheap. And I think Corey had said something about hoping to get 50 people or something like that.
Right.
That sounds like, they're going to make good money. But I guarantee you at the end of the day, if you add up their hours and divide it by what they make, it's not. They can do so much more by putting that time into eBay. Even if they make some money, it's not going to be like, oh, wow, this is so, you need to go into this business. Nope. It's not that.
Yeah, no. it's not. They're definitely not done for money. Period. And I know I don't want to get too long winded on that stuff because we've probably exhausted the subject in the minds of most of our listeners. But never think that. I mean, look, it's wonderful if you can come out. We were talking about something similar to this before, and we won't get into that deep. But a friend of mine and an event that he done, people get this in their mind that all we're out for is to make profits when anything like this is held. But if you ask resellers on these reselling events, the majority of them either break even or lose a little money nearly every time they do it. It's not for that purpose. It really is because they desire to get together, spend time together, connect, network, resource, and build relationships that go beyond just sitting here on YouTube and watching somebody. And just expanding really that part of our world, and making connections with real people. That's important. It makes this career much more rewarding when you do that. And we've said that a lot, but that's the reality. There's nothing like going to one of the meetups. So
I apologize for the beeping. I'm sure you guys will hear that. That's my driveway alarm. The kids are riding 4-wheelers and they're not thinking about Caleb in here doing a podcast. They're just riding up and down the road, causing the thing to go beep, beep, beep.
Yep.
Hey, we want to remind you guys too. These guys are for sale.
And
that one is.
This one's not.
That's the 2 old guys sticker. This is the old path sticker. And Josh's, I don't know. You just have to email him or something. I don't know.
Yeah, if you seriously, if you hit me up on Instagram or email me and you want one, I'll either mail you one or you could buy something from my store and I'll slip one in there if you let me know. No. But seriously, I can put them up for sale. I'm not really trying to make no bunch of money off mine or anything like that. But postage, I guess. I mean, it's just a stamp, so I'm not really worried about it. Yeah. I'm still using stamps. Look, about 2 years ago when I decided to start reselling, I was at a yard sale and this lady, she'd been married a couple of years and she had bought stamps to mail out all her invitations or thank you notes and all. And she just bought rolls and rolls of stamps. She had like 6 or 7 rolls of stamps left over. She sold them to me for $20 a roll. And the great thing about investing in stamps, I could have sold them and made money off of them then, like $15 to $20 per roll. I said, no, thank you. I'd been buying them one little book at a time, spending $10 or $12 for a book. So I got all these big rolls of 100 stamps, for $20. And I've still got like 3 or 4 rolls of them left. And every year that passes, they're worth more money, So, it's been one of the best investments. It's appreciated more than a savings account, man.
Yeah, no doubt. This is the episode that just won't quit beeping. Gosh, I just messaged them and told them stay on one side or the other of the alarm. So there was even more good things happen this weekend. Just a good weekend, overall. And but one thing that happened that was just glorious and wonderful and just made my whole day occurred Saturday. You know what that was, Josh?
I don't know what you're talking about. My Saturday was just a regular Saturday.
Oh, was it?
Yeah.
What about Roll Tide? Is that how it goes? Pretty sure they got rolled.
I'm proud of you. Proud of you. I didn't know those words could leave your mouth. How did we get there?
They got rolled, son. That's right.
I don't know. I wouldn't say rolled, Caleb. I mean, it was the fourth quarter before they had a lead. Come on now.
Beat, destroyed.
They did lose. They got beat. That's a fact. I would never try to argue they didn't win or that they didn't
going over the alarm.
But yeah, I don't know what's going on. And to be honest, if you're a fan of either team right now, I don't think you're feeling real good about things. And Tennessee is in a better position than we are now playoff wise because they are, still one of the 1-loss teams in the SEC because they got through that game. But I don't think either fan base was sitting on the sidelines during that game saying, I love how my team's playing. We're doing so great,
Right.
If anything, I don't think there's a lot of confidence going forward right now on either side. I mean, I'm not trying to lessen the victory. It was a huge victory for Tennessee. I mean, that's the second time in like 20 years they beat Alabama,
That's just exactly how Alabama fans react. You get beat and you're like, well, it's just the second time in 20 years. I'm just worried.
If you add up the total score of the last 20 years, it's like 5,877 to 30.
Yeah.
I mean, come on.
Yeah.
It's pretty close to that, seriously.
Here's an honest question. Here's an honest question for you. If Alabama loses another game, do you think Nick Saban comes back next year?
Oh, no. I don't think Nick Saban ever wants to come back.
You think he's done?
I mean, I may be wrong, and he may get the itch just simply to coach. But I really do think, this new system, unless they pass some kind of regulations and decided to at least put some boundaries on how the transfers work. I mean, that's something. Honestly, I've been okay with how Alabama's played, for instance, this year. When you consider everything, you consider a complete coaching staff overhaul, with brand new offensive and defensive systems, new philosophies, new play calls, new terminology. In many ways, it's like it don't matter if a player's been in the program for 4 years, it's like they're coming into it their first year. They can be some of the best players in the nation talent-wise, but if they transferred into a new school, they would have a learning curve to get up to speed in that new system. And so, like Alabama, was it like 24 players, I think, transferred out at the end of last season? I mean, we're talking about a team that went to the playoffs, and they still had 24 of their players transfer, including players that were starters and would have been a day one, like Isaiah Bond that went to Texas, and he's like their number one receiver at Texas, So you got, and that happened across the board. It wasn't just Alabama. Even the top teams, every top team lost top talent, and then they replaced them with top talent. We brought in starters. Damani Jackson was from USC. He was one of the best recruits and one of the best cornerbacks in the nation. He decided to leave USC and come to Alabama. None of it really makes sense to me. It doesn't make sense to me at all. Like, I don't get it. We've got great talent on the field, like at Alabama. Tennessee does too. But like Alabama, there's so many new faces. There's very little consistency in the locker room. And there was no carryover of philosophy and all that stuff. So I really think that we would be fortunate to get through the season and not lose 3 to 4 games.
That's a good point.
I think that'd be a good season. I mean, Saban probably had a little less talent overall his first year, but he only went 7-5 his first year and lost to Louisiana Monroe at Alabama. And it don't matter how you divide it up. It's kind of like Vanderbilt. You shouldn't lose to Louisiana Monroe. But I'll say this for Vanderbilt: they've only lost 1 game all year.
Vanderbilt 25, man.
Yeah, part of this NIL stuff that's going on with all this taking place and with all the transfer portal stuff is it's starting to level the playing field a little bit for teams like Vanderbilt. They may not be as deep as Alabama or Tennessee in terms of but the ones they have on the field, they've got enough top tier talent to get on the field that it on the right day, with the right coaching, they can beat almost anybody, it looks like. And I think we're going to have a lot more parity in college football going forward.
I've always told Logan, we talk about this a little bit. I told him, I said, the SEC, I don't care who you play, you better be ready because any team can beat any team at any time in the SEC. It's just a super stacked division. Like, there is no guarantees.
Absolutely.
Look at Arkansas, what they did to Tennessee,
Yeah.
And Vanderbilt, like, at least we didn't lose to a hospital, so I'm just saying.
Okay.
That's not my dad joke, by the way.
I don't have my dates, or I would just give you some dates of who's lost the most and
it's absolutely us. I mean,
when to Vanderbilt.
We've been on a negative run for. I mean, the last 3 years we've started the rebuilding process and all that, but yeah, before that, 15, 16 years, it was bad.
Tennessee in the 2000s reminds me of Alabama during most of the late 80s and the 90s, because most of Alabama's time, I mean, we had, of course, the stalling years. We had a good team or two here and there. And Tennessee's had some good runs a couple of times. When Fulmer came back for a little while, they had a really good team that one year. I think went 10-2 or something like that. They've had some good seasons sprinkled in. But that's kind of what it was at Alabama. We'd have a good 10-win season, and then we'd be, 8-4 or 6-6, or God, heaven forbid, 4-8, or something like that. It'd be a horrible season sometimes. Or then we'll get caught cheating and have to vacate all our wins,
Sound like the New England Patriots now.
Yeah, whatever, but it's going to be interesting going forward to college football. And the way I look at it, and this maybe, I don't know who's fans of who. We probably need to move on from college football pretty soon, but I was thinking, whether you're a Tennessee fan or an Alabama fan, you can certainly be thankful that you're not a Florida State fan.
Yeah.
That you're one win from being one win and Jordan Travis getting injured from being a favorite to possibly win a national title one year, and the next year you can't even win at all. You can't even beat Duke. you know? I mean, and that's with the same system, same coaches, and
it's just the way it goes, though.
golly.
I mean, that's just the way it goes sometimes.
It is.
Okay, now that we got our victory lap out of the way here on the Two Old Guys Reselling Podcast, go Vols, we can move on to our next topic.
How about the World Series real quick?
Is that a Dodgers hat?
It is. Now, I'm not a Dodgers fan, but I hate New York, so I pulled this out.
Oh, has it started? Has it started? The series?
It starts this week, I think.
Okay.
I don't know what day, but it hadn't started yet.
I try to watch the series. That's about all the baseball I get to watch anymore, but I try to watch it, and I will pull for the Dodgers over the Yankees, absolutely.
Yeah, and I might would enjoy it better now. I got really, like, I never was as big of a baseball like watching on TV as I was other sports, but the games had gotten so slow and so long. It just got so boring to me. I mean, now they made all those changes in the rules, to speed up the game, keep the pitches rolling, all that stuff.
Yeah, they got the pitch clock now, don't they?
Yeah, that seems to have helped about keeping the game moving forward. And maybe if I gave it, I haven't really gave it a lot of a chance since they made those changes. And I probably should, because
it is a slow game though.
Yeah. I follow it religiously as far as, like I always keep up with, who all's winning, stats, the players. I mean, I'm a stats geek, always have been. So I'm always combing through
guy, though, right? You're a Braves guy.
Yeah. I mean, first, I'm not, I don't have a hard loyalty. Like a team that I'm just always like hard rooting for, but Braves, the Braves would be the first team that I would defer to, and honestly, the Braves were then the 90s. I mean, there's nothing like the Braves in the South. I mean, that was the team.
Yeah.
I mean, those 90 Braves with Smoltz and Glavine and Maddox, and you have Fred McGriff, Crime Dog, you have all these David Justice, and you go on and on, right? All these great players that came through, but they're pitching.
Yep.
Yeah. Chipper Jones, Andrew Jones.
Yeah.
I mean, it just goes on and on. It's not, so yeah, it's definitely Braves, for my childhood. And I mean, you go back to them. And of course, today, Ronald Acuna, it's hard to find someone. They were talking about that on Trash to Cash about a single A card. I forget the Braves affiliate in Georgia that it was at, but someone had gotten one graded and it sold for like $4,000, I think. And it wouldn't even, it's not a major market card. His bet, the best card is going to be Bowman or Topps, like for their first run card. But he's just been such a big deal, so successful so early on in his career. And there's high expectations for him where it used to be maybe Mike Trout and Shohei Ohtani, of course, being the two primary, like the WAR. And I need to just stop. But the wins against replacement, and how they stacked up historically so high, especially Mike Trout for so long. He was just blowing the WAR rating, like the highest WAR of any player that had come along in 75 years or something like that. Of course, injuries and stuff have caught up to him, and I think he's got some degenerative stuff or something going on that has kind of slowed him down. But nevertheless, Acuna looked like the next guy in line to be at least competitive with Ohtani and some of the others. Didn't have as great a season this year as he did last year, but anyway, we'll move on.
You remember when Randy Johnson hit the bird?
Yeah.
Was that not the craziest thing?
Yeah. Randy Johnson was awesome, man.
Randy Johnson was a beast, man.
Oh my goodness.
Huge.
I mean,
huge man throwing 102 miles an hour, 101.
And he was still clocking that before he left the game. He never lost his heat. I mean, that was the amazing thing. A lot of pitchers, they're that last that long, close to 20 seasons or more and continue to pitch. Even when Justin Verlander is a good example, they continue to find ways to be dominant. Verlander won a Cy Young again, a year ago or 2 years ago, something like that, at a very, later age for a pitcher.
Mm-hmm.
But a lot of times too, they begin to change how they approach. It becomes more scientific, more like the Greg Maddux approach. It's working the angles, working the edges, changing up the different pitches. It's not as much about just throwing the heat past people, but Johnson never seemed to lose his.
No, he was definitely bad news.
Yeah.
Well, let's get on to a reselling podcast.
Hey.
I take that out of the title.
It is what it is.
It is. So we had a good question. I won't read the comment word for word, but we asked the question what would be some topics you guys would like to hear us talk about, so on and so forth. And Mary McQueen threw out, she would love for us to talk about selling on other platforms. Like, have we thought about it? Have we done it? You know, stuff like that. And so we kind of had a couple of thoughts here. First of all, is eBay the king of reselling platforms? Should you sell on other platforms? And how do you know when it's time to start selling on other platforms? Like, is there a point, you know what I'm saying, like a trigger point in your business that you have to say, I need to diversify? And maybe even more so what we was talking about before the show, not necessarily just in your reselling, but do you need to think outside the box more so in life in general to stay self-employed? What do you think?
I mean, I think you start looking for avenues. I think part of I've thought about this a lot actually for myself. I think sometimes we maximize our potential of what we could just do as an individual. It's not that I sometimes wonder if it's as much that eBay is not working as good for us or that eBay is failing us. And the fact is we want to see growth, but you only have so much time to list no matter what you're sourcing.
Yeah.
And so your avenues to improve your income, if you're using only eBay, begin to get kind of limited because there's only so many hours in the day, only so many man hours that one person can devote. And so you either have to find better items. I think sometimes you have to purge your store and rid your store of items that are maybe bogging your store down because, like it or not, the number of impressions and activity that our store garnishes. And I mean, you can push some of that by promotions, but if you got bad items, no matter how much you promote them, nobody's going to click on it. That's just reality. You can't force someone to click just because you spend money. It's still got to be something that there's market for, that's priced at a price level that people will be interested in buying. All those things have to also be factored in. So I'm going to get to the answer of the other side of this, but no, I mean, I think those are all really relevant things because I think the heart of this question is really, how do I make more money working the same amount of hours? That's what it comes down to. Because we're trying to, it's not like an endless pyramid. You can't just keep climbing a ladder. You can't climb forever.
Yep.
But you want to find a way to work. Also, you want to make more without working more hours. I don't want to work. I can always, if I'm working 40 hours, I can always work 80 hours next week on eBay and make more money on eBay. But what I would really like to do is find a way to keep working 80 hours, but keep finding ways, or not 80, but 40 hours, and keep finding ways in that 40 hours to make it more valuable to me, make it make more money. And I think, being more efficient, eliminating wasted time, and finding ways to maybe get more eyes on the things we're already trying to sell. And that's where, what Mary was talking about really comes into play. And I mentioned this before, and I don't cross post. I don't do those things. I know it's there. I've studied it extensively. I know the avenues. I know if I do it, I'm going to be on Vendu, and I'm going to put all my stuff in there and hit as many other avenues as that will allow me, because I think that's the most efficient first step. Because if you load everything in there, you may not be on every reselling platform, but you can all at once take all the work you're putting into just eBay, and it makes it pay you on multiple platforms without doing more work. You do the work once, and it puts it in front of that many more eyes, that many more platforms. I think that's a very wise way to approach things. I mean, if you're looking to maximize the amount of sales you can make and the number of hours you're working, I think that's a logical first step. But there's a lot of people that's been doing that for a long time, and they're still not necessarily satisfied with what they're making with their income. They still feel like there's this ceiling that they can't get past. And that's something I've been thinking a lot about. And actually in some of if I can ever get around to being able to film and get my videos out, something I've been working on is looking into that for myself and trying to pass along what I'm learning. And sometimes you got to really step back and reevaluate our approach. I think we get too desperate sometimes. I think we pick up a lot of things we shouldn't pick up. I think death piles are mostly created from the fact that we make too many bad buys. That's what it really comes down to. We make a lot of bad buys. And most of the time when we're making them, we really are aware more than we want to admit that it's probably a bad buy when we're making it. It's the pressure I feel that I need to find something sometimes when I'd probably have been better off. I think I need to find something, so I will buy stuff even when I know I shouldn't buy it, because I don't feel like I need to come home empty-handed after investing all that time, all the gas, the energy, all that stuff. But the reality is, if I come home and I set that stuff down in a pile and I don't list any of it for 6 or 8 months, then I really did just go spend the day out, and all it did was cost me everything I said plus whatever the merchandise sitting in the bag cost. I didn't help myself any at all. So I think you look for ways to not do the bad things. You got to find a way to eliminate your mistakes, eliminate the unnecessary expenses, and then, like I said, I think we got to find better inventory. Our store performance, it does a lot to get eyes on our store. I think more than we realize. You said something earlier about your listings, and anytime you need to jump in, if you get a thought, I'll pause. But you said something about your listings and your really. But like your bank, and how you didn't have anything in there or whatever, but that you normally like to do that, but you didn't like to get excessive with it. Well, and then there's people that say, well, you should just go ahead and put it out there. And me, I don't bank anything. If I make the list and it's going up, the sooner I can get eyes on it, the sooner it can sell. If I get so many, and nobody's going to see it till 2 weeks because, and I do think we need to try to list every day. And I think that's a lot of people's solution to this, satisfying this thought that if we list every day, it improves sales automatically. I think we get more sales when we list every day simply because we're getting new items up. And there's going to be items that sell just because, even if it's in a crowded category, like a clothing category, there's clothing categories like, say, I sell Levi's. I mean, everybody knows I sell some Levi's from time to time, right? I would never say, hey, Levi's is the best, most fantastic, clothing category to go sell in. Matter of fact, most of the styles you look up, the sell-through rate is going to be rather slow on them. It might be 20 or 25%. However, you will also find that if you look up, say, 550s, I don't know how many's on there, so please don't hold me to this. I can look it up, I guess, right quick. But there may say that, let's just throw around, there may be 8,000 pair listed or 10,000 pair of them listed, maybe way more than that. But let's just throwing a number out. And there may only be 2,000 sold. But the fact is, 2,000 sales of anything specific like that is a large volume of sales. So then we have to get more scientific about it. And it's not so much, we're talking again about how do we improve our income to be able to be, self-employed, I think is the word that Kevin used in his video that he just released. Not to think of it, I'm a full-time reseller, but I'm full-time self-employed. And so we got to maximize the money we're making off of our time. So you look at that, it's still a good category to sell in, but you got to make sure that you're priced to get yours out the door. Because 2,000 items are selling, that tells you there's a whole lot of people that are probably pricing themselves out of the market with so many listed, probably by just $3 to $5. So if you can get in them cheap enough and keep yours at the price point where it's going to move, they'll sell. But I do think also moving away from too many items like that and trying to, focus on, higher sell-through rate items. And some people don't like that word. Some people think that's, not the answer. But you can't really argue with the science of it. Something that has, 200 items sold in the last 90 days and there's only 50 or 100 of them listed. When you list that, if you price it right, it's going to be gone probably within a few days. Sometimes the same day you list it, a lot of times it'll be gone. But it's definitely not going to be in your store for more than a week or so. If it lasts 2 weeks, that's going to be an aberration if it's got a sell-through rate like that. So if you can source more items like that, spend less time looking for minor wins, for singles and look for the bigger stuff. And, that's a good pathway. But like I say, I think you also got to look maybe for other avenues to bring income in sometimes. I have other avenues. I mean, I'm still listed as a teacher with through a hospital that works with children that have had problems, and different, like psychological issues, where they have to go into the hospital for a while. And so I assist with that from time to time, and I make a little money off of that. It's not a lot. It's probably like $3,000 or $4,000 total a year, but it still supplements the income a little bit. And I think all of us have things that we can do, like because I have a teaching license, I can do that. It requires very little time, but it does put a little bit extra money in our pocket, and it's a quarterly thing. I get like once every 3 months, but it's a nice little check, so like $900 to $1,000 every quarter, So,
it's a nice thing to forget's coming and it shows up.
Exactly. Yeah, you feel like you're getting a little behind. eBay hadn't performed as well as you'd like it to for a couple of weeks, and then boom, there's a $900 check in the mail. Like that works. So
nice. Yeah, absolutely. I like it. And just from my take on selling on other platforms, I have had a couple items on Mercari before Vendu was really a thing, years and years ago. before cross listing and cross posting was as easy as it is now. And I can see the appeal. You know, if you have 1,000 items on eBay, the appeal is, well, if I just throw them all into Vendoo and I put them on Mercari and I put them on Poshmark and I put them on eBay and I put them on 5 places or however many, I'm going to have all these extra sales. I think that's a little bit of a pipe dream, you know, like it's not necessarily a guarantee that you're going to double your sales or anything like that. You might get a little bit of a surge, you know, you might get a couple extra sales and you might get an extra sale every couple of days even, but I don't think it's going to make your income like go $10,000 up in a heartbeat. I just don't see that.
No, look, if you're not getting sales, it still comes down to good inventory, priced right, and not overpaying when you buy it.
It's all, every bit of that is just good business practices. If you don't have good business practices, you're not going to have a good business. You have to learn this business, and you have to, you know, there's kind of this sixth sense of reselling. You pick up an item and you know it's good, or you know it's not, you know, and I'm guilty of what you was talking about too. Buying stuff, you know, is not so great. And I've done better here lately. Mm-hmm. Me and Tanya's been at yard sales here lately, and I have not bought big stacks of vinyl because I knew it was most, you know, 95% just basic, you know, $6 vinyls. And do I want to put my time and effort into that? Yeah, there's money there, but it's not much.
Right.
So would I be better suited to spend my time and efforts somewhere else? Yeah. You know, so I try to focus in, not saying I'm not willing to buy stuff, but focus in on the better performing, better quality stuff. And I'll tell you right now, there is almost 50 totes in my shed. That's the growth that I've got right now, about 50. And they're all full. I've got 2 totes left empty that I can fill up. Now, we are almost out of yard sale season here. It's pretty much over. We'll have a few more weekends of, you know, 3 or 4 yard sales, 5 or 6, whatever. But the bulk of them, it's done.
Yeah, it's too cold.
Even in November, we'll have, you know, a few weekends where people will throw up sales. But the whole thing is, you know, well, you have enough stuff to last you through winter. Well, I'm going to be fine. Just because I traded my summer for my winter, you know, this time around. But no, I mean, there is a very good argument to be made. You know, even if you're talking financial life, a good financial planner is going to tell you, don't put all your eggs in one basket. Yeah. That's kind of the same thing with eBay. Don't drop all of it into one place, which I do. I mean, I'm guilty of that, but to me, it's my most valuable asset right now. Now, does that mean I'm not going to look outside of eBay in the future? No, I probably absolutely will look at other ways. If there's a way to make money, we'd be foolish not to at least give it a look and, you know, a little bit of investigation and see what this might do for us. Whatnot for me was not the platform for me to make a viable income off of. Right. I done well. I'm not saying that. I made a couple $100 each show I did, but the time, the energy, and the effort was way more productive for me and way more efficient for me on eBay than it was Whatnot. So I just changed my business model there, and I started lotting things up instead of selling cheap $2 items on Whatnot. But, you know, a lot of people, and I'm not trying to knock anybody that does that. A lot of people do that. And if that's making you money, by all means, you know, it's kind of what I told somebody one time. We was talking about Whatnot. I said, to me, Whatnot is a great place when you buy a bag of toys for $1 at a yard sale, a great old big box of toys or bag of toys or whatever. And there's 100 pieces of toys in there. And you get out whatever's good for eBay, and you've got a lot of stuff that's like $5 and $6, $8, whatever on eBay. You run them through, and if you just get $2 a piece, and you had 100 things, well, you know that's value. But if I can make 5 or 6 lots at $25 a piece, well, there's value there too. So you have to weigh it in your mind, which one works best for you. I really think that's the key, is what works best for your person.
And the value is being able to get it out the door quicker, I think, in that case. I also think, I don't want this to get misconstrued or think, but I do think, for some, maybe especially on in reselling, where social media begins to grow enough to where it provides maybe not a primary income, but a substantial supplement to the reselling income. I do think there, for some people that are spending that much time with the content, there comes a time when it's just a great outlet to wholesale a lot of the stuff that's being purchased in the process of filming. It's not that it's bad stuff, like you said. It's things that, maybe you could lot together, like those toys. You could lot them together in groups, sell them on eBay. That's great. But by doing Whatnot, you also it's more attention, because I can run that Whatnot show on Whatnot, simulcast it on YouTube, Facebook, and so it adds to their social profile. And it draws more attention that way. And, like you said, you can cherry pick the best items out to put on the primary platforms, like eBay and Poshmark, whatever area you normally sell on, whatever site. And then it allows them to, and that way, like I'm saying, in sourcing, because they're spending so much more time with social media, that in the sourcing, when they source so many items, that it becomes hard to keep up with both, to list it all on eBay, and also they can do a sale one night and get rid of 200 items,
Yeah.
I mean, I think it was Harry Tornado did, was it like 250 items in like 4 hours last night, maybe? And I know we know he's got a huge following, but I'm saying, but still, he was able to liquidate a ton of inventory in a 4-hour span and just move it on out the door, so that they can justify going back to the bins, buying more inventory and making more content for their channel. And look, when they find something great, it don't go there. It goes on eBay. They still put stuff on eBay. They got their booth, they'll put stuff in. But like you said, a lot of the low and mid tier stuff, and sometimes even stuff that's for them at this point, if it's just a $15 or $20 item, it'll still go in the Whatnot show. And if they don't get but 10, they got it at the bins most of the time, so they got $1 or $2 in it. It's still profit. And again, it adds to the overall percent. And this is the topic too, because the topic is, when do we diversify, and how do we diversify, and what is really the goal as a reseller? Well, I know most people reselling are probably still just part-time. It's a side hustle for them. But most people at least envision, I think, reselling as eventually being something they either do full-time, or as something that, as they move away from full-time work, as they retire, that becomes kind of their full-time gig with their retirement supplementing it, where it becomes the primary thing. And I don't think anyone that really loves this doesn't probably like the idea, if it were possible, of being able to work for themselves and be a reseller. But I do think, as I mentioned earlier, as Kevin brought up, that sometimes we also have to think maybe a little outside the box of that. And I liked his take on it in that video, that sometimes it's less about, am I a full-time reseller? And the way he put it, more, I'm a full-time self-employed person. Like he said, he come to the realization that, even though he can make a suitable income on eBay, it's easier when you're willing to look at other avenues of income and add other things to it. He even mentioned, I told you before the show, he mentioned that his wife, seeing dead time, rather than running the roads, carrying her daughter to practice, that during that dead time, she could wait and then just do some DoorDash deliveries, and it's not a lot of money, but it keeps you from losing money, and so every decision we make, if we're trying to work for ourselves, every decision we make can be a really impactful decision. Me and my wife talk about this a lot. It don't seem like a lot when you stop one time. Some people say, well, it only costs, $8 for me to stop and get my coffee and a snack, my coffee and a biscuit, my coffee and whatever in the mornings. But I was telling her, I said, that's true, but there's 52 weeks in a year. And if it's $8 every morning, that's $40 a week times 52 weeks. Well, you do the math, that's over $2,000.
That's a lot.
So if you're looking at how little decisions, small financial decisions, because part of this being self-employed, you got to learn to be really wise about how you use your money. And, being self-employed and trying to do it full time, and I don't have to, because my wife works. I don't have to pay for everything. Your wife works, and that covers a lot. It helps y'all out a lot, but honestly, I would love for my wife to be able to step away from that and just work with me. But for us to do that, like, every financial decision matters. Whether to buy a new car or a used car, it matters. Whether you stop to eat or you carry a sandwich with you from home when you're going yard selling for the day and throw it in a lunchbox, it matters. Because you stop at Chick-fil-A and two people eat and you're out $25. But you throw 2 peanut butter and jellies in a bag with some potato chips, and you're probably out like $1. I mean, so every financial decision matters, and I think sometimes we forget how impactful those choices can be when you add them up over the weeks, the months, and the calendar year, and how that actually impacts the amount of income you have left over out of what your earnings are. And if you want to do the big things, you got to sometimes sacrifice the little things along the way.
Very true.
And people aren't always willing to do that. And then they wonder why things are always so tight, why they're always struggling, why there's never money to take a vacation, why they can't seem to get the money together to pay off this bill. But you got to sacrifice some of those small things, if the big things are what are important to you.
Absolutely. Well, we waited till the end of the show again to start our segments.
It's okay.
Let's throw out a comment of the week today. How about it? You want to do that?
Let's go for it.
Comment of the week.
We've been talking about a comment the whole show. Actually.
That's pretty much right. Yeah. That can be comment of the week number 1. This will be comment of the week number 2. So I really like this comment. This is from Doug, the vintage codger, but he also has Smoky. I think it's South Mountain Leather. I think's the name.
Yeah.
Is that right? South Mountain.
I think that's right.
He's been doing, I guess he just started, I don't know. I might be telling this all wrong, but anyway, he just his website selling handmade wallets and keychain deals that hold them onto your belt loop, and now belts also. Awesome. And it looks like super quality stuff. So he's awesome. He says, great show again, fellas. Glad to see you back, or good to see y'all back. I'd be interested to know what was the first thing you listed on eBay and what it was that got you hooked to continue reselling. Hope y'all have a great weekend. And I answered that comment with what I think was the first thing that I ever listed. And just to share that here really quick, and then you can say your comment. I had a Gateway computer, and I don't recommend Gateway now because them things blew up on me. Yeah. But anyway, it was my first computer. I was working. I got me a job, and I'm like, okay, I want to buy a computer. And this was 1999 or 98 or something like that. So way back in the day. And I bought the computer. Well, it crashed. So the hard drive got wiped out, and Dell sent me a whole new computer because of that, like no questions asked. So I reformat the hard drive, and I'm like, well, I could sell this on eBay. This new thing, eBay, it'd been around for 2 or 3 years at the time. And I'm like, I could try to sell this on eBay. So I threw it on there and sold it for, at the time on auction, it made like $55. And I was like, wow, I was about to put this hard drive in the trash because it was no good to me. But I threw it on eBay and made an extra $50. And I'm pretty sure it was at that moment, I'm like, eBay is going to be my go-to. If I've got an item that's good, I'm going to throw it on there. And I even sold, when I bought my first vehicle, it had the old chrome bed rails on it, and I didn't much care for them. I'm like, I'm going to just get rid of these. Well, I got thinking, could I sell these on eBay? So I took pictures of them. I weighed them, put all that stuff in, and I'm like, I'm going to try this. And I shipped them by bubble wrapping them. They're like 6 foot long. I bubble wrapped them and I put them craft paper around that. That's how I shipped them. Yeah. And sold those on eBay. And it just trickled down over the years. I sold on eBay very part-time, just when I found something that was really good. Like I would find a video game worth $50 and Tanya's like, you sold that on eBay? Yeah, I sold it the other day, And one of the last things I sold before she caught on was a Michael Jordan mini game jersey that, like, it's a card, but it's a mini, replica jersey. And it sold for like $45. And the whole set of the cards I bought was like $10, and I found that. And she's like, no way. So she started getting interested, and that blew us up to this point. But yeah, that was my first thing. And I appreciate that comment, Doug.
Yeah, absolutely. So for me, I don't really have it wasn't a slow entry. I guess I could go back to when, because I mentioned how my dad, started doing eBay kind of in its early days, and they did a lot of pottery, like McCoy, Roseville, the various all the big pottery. I mean, we could keep going, but for sake of time, they did pottery. They did like the handmade quilts, like the old quilts, like late 1800s, early 1900s. They learned how to identify the materials, because a lot of it's made from flour sacks and stuff. And so based on the prints and the colors and the patterns and the textures of the cloth, you could kind of date the cloth that they were made out of. And so, I mean, some of them were maybe from the 40s or 50s, but they would go to state sales. That was the kind of stuff they targeted. There were other things as well, but that was the two big niches for them, was really pottery and quilts. And like I said, they bought us stuff, but it was a different time. You couldn't Google Lens, you couldn't search and just know, hey, this item's crazy valuable. And so, had tons of books and looked stuff up. So my exposure to that, my point, when I was in college, I picked up a piece of pottery at it was like at a flea mall type place that the person had woefully underpriced. I think I gave $5 for it. I think it was Shawnee, if I remember right. But it sold for like $35 or $40. They put it on there for me, and gave me the profits out of it. So that was the first time I'd ever picked anything up personally, and I didn't sell it through an account of my own. It was sold through their account, but that was for me. And I would look while I was out for them. So I did pick stuff up from time to time. And a lot of times Dad would give me the money back. I didn't buy a lot of stuff, but if I saw something obvious that I knew they'd want me to pick up, I would grab it. But that I got for me. So I remember that. But now, as far as me getting into eBay myself, I've told this before, but how, I was very calculated about it, had bought up stuff during the fall yard sale season, leading up to kind of launching my store that January. And we started listing it because it was the COVID thing, right? We were all at home. Excuse me. We'd all been sick. None of us could go to work. And so we had about 2 weeks there at the first of the year that we're all going to be at home because of the mandatory, separation, the stay at home stuff. And so, and of course I was at home anyway because of the way things were going with schools, but we lit into listing in January, and we listed some shoes, some hats and stuff like that. But the big thing I remember, the big purchase I had made before we ever had listed anything, was a bunch of the Demdeco figurines, Mama Says. And so I had bought from my local thrift store. Someone had donated. They were brand new in the box. She hadn't even displayed them, and there were probably 30 of them. And they had them priced at various prices, $10, $15, $20, $25, all different sizes. They didn't really know, nor did I, exactly how much each one was worth. I couldn't really research every single one of them from them being stacked in the case. But I talked to them, and they gave me, I don't remember what I paid for them now, but they gave me a price on the lot. Like, they figured out what it all was and then took like 25% off of that. And I had looked up enough of them to know that there were a couple of them that were worth $100 to $150 minimum. And so I think I paid like $400 or $500 for all of it. But come to find out, there were a couple in there worth a couple of $100 that were pretty rare. And there were 2 or 3 that were, in that $100 to $150 range. So, I mean, that was the first. We were really excited about getting that stuff listed because we saw a lot of value in that. And I've still got some that I didn't sell. It was like anything else. They're 2 ordinary, run-of-the-mill, $20 items. But I sold enough of them that were super valuable. Kind of like the stuff I bought today. These Danbury mint. There's some Danbury mint items that are going to be run of the mill. That's going to be hard to move because there's 5 sales and 40 of them listed, and they don't sell for a whole lot anyway. Kind of like with the Department 56 stuff. It depends on which piece it is. But there's such good value in the right ones that sometimes it's worth buying the collection to get the good ones, because you'll make so much profit off the 50% that are really good, that even if you end up having to yard sell the rest of them, throw them on Facebook, or just donate them, whatever you decide to do with them, in the end, you still make your profit and you move on from it.
Absolutely.
Kind of a long story, but that's where I started. That was my first big sales. I kind of came out of the gate running fast because I had a lot of $100 and $200 sales on items. All the great stuff I had bought, we listed that stuff fast. I had $100 batch, and just all this stuff. And so we was throwing all that great stuff on, and it kept working. It kept working down more and more to this massive amount of $15 and $20 items. And then I was like, Like, who wants to clean and list this? It's the wrong way to approach things. I do believe in listing your best items, but you better pick some of your lower dollar stuff in with it, because like the way we did, we went in like a tornado for 2 weeks and listed everything that had great value. And then we're staring at this massive, and we had all these big sales. It's like, if I spend time cleaning that item and I sell it, I'm going to make $10 off of it in profit max.
Yeah.
And then you're just so demotivated because all these other sales were like big money, you know?
Yep.
So the sales did this, and so did the profits, you know, for a while, but you live and you learn.
Yep. What's your comment of the week?
I'm actually going to pull two comments together because they're the same thing on the same thing. So I'm not familiar with this commenter unless it's someone that's got two accounts and I just don't know or something. But DME Phemera, Phemera. Anyway, said watch Golden State Picker videos on UPS overcharges. He was charged $1,600 on a package. Took him a while and numerous calls to eBay to get his money back. And then Miss Lachey Resells, I can pull hers up. She commented on the same thing. She said, this Miss Lachey Resells 3853 said, hopefully you get the overcharge resolved quickly, Caleb. Another reseller mentioned the same guy, Golden State, was overcharged by UPS at a staggering amount of $1,600. They had his package at 440 pounds for a golf club. So
Wow.
my question to you then is this. One, it's reassuring to know, and we know mistakes happen, but what has come of, do you have any updates on your overcharge?
Nope.
Still waiting, huh?
Yeah, I haven't really fought it hard yet.
Oh, I forgot you got that. I forgot you got all that money, huh?
No, I don't got all that money.
Yeah.
This dude was working
I'm
on
sorry. I mean, for some, it's not as big a deal for some people when they lose a couple $100 on shipping. So
oh, yeah, right.
Some of us, you know, I mean,
it's all the money we make here. I'm good.
Yeah, I know. I forget.
No, it's legit, but I got so busy with the porch stuff, and now I've got somebody coming Wednesday to give me an estimate on the air conditioning for the building.
Awesome. Awesome.
A friend of mine here local that I have mentioned on the show before, Doug, we see him at a lot of yard sales. He gave me the number of another electrician. I'm going to reach out to him. I'm really going to shoot for, by the end of the year, having the electrical, the heat and air, and the insulation completed. Now that I've got entry into that building easily, and I got part of my porch rails fixed too, my wires,
right,
this week. But I've been trying to wrap up all that stuff. And man, you know, listing just takes a back seat sometimes. And so does things like that. It's not because I don't want the money back. I need to do it because they're going to think I'm okay with it if I don't do something about it soon. But that is ridiculous. That how can you be $1,600 off when you know what I'm saying? If first of all, how could anything cost that much to ship unless you're shipping freight? And obviously they wasn't. But okay, 440 pounds for a golf club. I'm sorry, but even at the dimensional rates and stuff, it doesn't get that high. So somebody is obviously off. And I read something that was very interesting to me on a forum about this very problem. Somebody posted the very comment, like what we're talking about, how people are getting overcharged. And he said at a FedEx facilities, these packages run down a conveyor and they go across the scale and they do like an auto weigh, you know, as they scan them, they auto weigh and they do a correction. He said he had personally seen in these facilities, two packages would bunch together on the scale and it would scan the one and that one would get charged for the weight of both. And I really believe that probably does happen in automation. I know from my career working in warehousing, they started a lot of that automation stuff and it did happen that way where packages would bump together and you'd get two or three on a scale all at once. So it does happen. Mm-hmm. But how could FedEx not know? Okay, there needs to be some sort of trigger like this package, they said it weighed 20 pounds, but it weighs 440. Come on. You know, like there has to be some sort of trigger there. We said it weighed 20 and it really weighed 25. Okay. But to go from 20 to 440, you know, something like that, there has to be a trigger to that. But
But the reality is, and this is the thing, even on yours where it wasn't, like crazy changes,
It was pretty crazy. I mean, it was pretty bad.
No, on money it was, but I'm talking about on measurements though, right?
Oh,
It
the
was only,
measurements was just 2 inches each way. Yeah.
but the reality, but that's the reality though, is like we know this from reselling that when it comes to shipping charges. I mean, there's times that I find myself about to print all my labels out, and I'm throwing that next package up on the scale and hit my measurements, and like it's a little bit bigger than I estimated, and it goes from being $18 to like $35, and I'm like, holy moly, what's going on here? And so then you find yourself, you were just using that box because it was the best fit box, but then you find yourself cutting your tape, pulling it out, and trying to cut down a box, figure some way out to shave an inch off of it somewhere. Because by shaving 1 inch off, suddenly what would cost you, $35 is only $12, and there's not a lot of logic or reason to the way those sometimes jump so drastically. And in your case, and in his case, I mean, 440 pounds, but in your case, sometimes, when you're already doing a large package, you've already moved into that upper sector. If you cross in the next sector above, it's even exponentially more like what happened to you. And so it means a lot, even a small error on their part in reading. That could have been literally one small package that fell on the scale with it. And suddenly you're having to pay that kind of an upcharge. I mean,
yeah. Well, I chalked it up to that because when I seen, I know the 2 inches made some difference, but even when I was doing the packing for it, the difference was like, $50. It wasn't $350. So I was like, something has to be kooky with this. Cause I don't know. It's definitely something to come back and revisit again, and something I need to do something about very quickly.
Oh, for sure. That's enough that you most certainly need to look in, and don't wait too long because nearly everything's got a window of expiration on it when it comes to, a lot of times that will extend almost indefinitely once you start the process, but you got a narrow window to start it. You need to at least get that first inquiry or whatever put in so that you can get the process rolling.
Absolutely.
And at the very least, eBay should refund some of that. I mean, just because considering everything else they do that they take on them out of their profits, if you're a trusted long-term seller, that's happened, that they should make up the difference there.
Yep. All right. Ready for a sale of the week?
Yeah, let's do it.
Sale of the week time. I mean, for those of you that still sell. I did actually have one pretty good sale. I didn't sell much of anything this weekend, but I did have one good sale this week. I have three, but I had two Motor Max Real Rides cars. I don't know if you've ever seen those. They're just like a die-cast car, but they come in a rounded dome type container. These two cars were themed after the movie Grease, and they were like a 1948 Ford and something similar. Same buyer bought both. One of them sold for $49.99. The other one sold for $39.99. So a good, $80 sale to one buyer, one shipping, all that kind of stuff. And Tanya actually bought those, and she comes straight in that day after she bought them because it was one of those days that I couldn't go with her or something. And she said, I bought these, but I don't know if they're any good. She gave like $5 a piece, And I'm like, well, we'll just look them up and find out. Surely we can get our money back, And sure enough, $10 into 80. So I'll take that.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I didn't have like you. I mean, I had good sales this week. I didn't have any like just out of the ballpark value wise. I had quite a few sales in that $50 to $70 range, and then a lot of other smaller sales. But I had two that both sold for 70 plus shipping. And the coolest one was a set of Jurassic Park items that I had bought at Walmart. I bought four of it's the Epic Evolution. They were, I don't know, about a foot long. So, good, the medium sized dinosaurs they do. But I bought four of those. They were marked down to $7 each. So if you know Walmart, they do stages of markdowns. And generally, if you go their clearance aisle, the first stage of markdown, there's hardly ever any value for a reseller on stage one markdown. And they also donate a lot of their clearance items to places like Salvation Army. So there's a fine line between their last markdown and them cleaning the markdowns off the shelf and then shipping them out to donations and stuff. So, I mean, just throwing that out there too. It's just, you don't have usually that last markdown, there's just a few days before they pull it off the shelf. But I happen to be in there. They're marked down to $7 each. I think they run them at like $29.99 on the shelf or something like that. So I looked them up and they had decent sell through. I decided just to put all mine together. Some were worth more than others. And I listed them at $69.99 plus shipping, and they sold. So,
wow.
I had about $28, probably $32 in them, tax and all, and sold them for $70. So I maybe made $20, $25. Not a huge problem, but for retail, I mean, it's so easy. I just set them all up, took 2 pictures, took a picture of the bottom, threw them on the shelf, and I was done,
And then there's no question about the condition on something new. Like,
oh, yeah, absolutely. It's just so easy. So easy.
Yeah, absolutely.
The other, I do want to mention the other one because I think it's a great bolo to watch out for. It's something I didn't know about until I picked it up. So this is from a yard sale, and it was actually last year. But you know how sometimes you buy something out of season, like right at the end of a season, clothing wise, right? And it has to wait till cool weather. So I'm starting to sell long sleeve stuff and sweatshirts and things like that. Long pants are selling now in the store. And so if you never heard of Sugar Street Weavers,
Oh, you know it.
No, seriously, if you haven't, it's so you know what tapestries are, right? I mean, everybody knows what a tapestry is, like where they weave it makes a picture, right? Like in the tapestry. So Sugar Street Weavers, it's like hand woven tapestry style items. And so the one I had was a Christmas one. It's got Santa on the back of it. It's in one of my old videos. Casey put it on and kind of showed what it looked like. It's really, really nice. But it's like a cardigan, but it's like that heavy tapestry, almost like the Afghans, that people cover up with, that kind of material. And it sold for $70 plus shipping. I gave like $3 for it at a yard sale. But if you look up Sugar Street Weavers on eBay, okay, their stuff sells, some of it over $100. I mean, like it's not something that you would see and think that's good. You'd probably think I need to look it up, but you'd probably be expecting like maybe a $20 or $25 bill out of it. But they're actually very desirable and they're kind of hard to find. There's not a high pop of them out there. But if you see one, you probably want to grab it because it's going to be a pretty good payday if it's priced right.
Nice.
Good shape. So anyway.
Very nice.
Yep.
All right. You ready I'm pretty sure you lost this week because Glenn Bill even said he laughed at my joke and he never said that about yours. So that's a vote. Right?
I don't know.
Oh yeah, if it was the other way around.
You make the rules. It don't matter. It don't matter. You make the rules every week. I mean, what difference does it make?
Okay, I win. That's all we got.
I mean, that's what you said that from the beginning. You basically, when you asked me to be on this show with you all them months ago, you basically at the very beginning said, "By the way, I make all the rules on the dad jokes and who wins, so I'm going to win every week." Just letting you know.
That's what that L stands for. Loser again. Up here, we're all winner. Right here, boys. Yeah. All right, let's do this.
Let's do it.
Click the button. All right, you ready to lose?
I think I like my joke.
You want to go first this time then?
It don't matter.
Go ahead, sir. I will defer.
All right. So there was this man that was stranded on an island for 5 years all by himself. And finally he was rescued. But when the man that was rescuing him got there, he noticed that he had built 3 different huts. So he asked the man, he said, "Well, what are all these for?" Well, the man says, "Well, that one over there, that one was my house." And then the pointer said, "And that one over there," said, "That one was my church." The guy that was rescued and said, "Well, that makes sense, but what's the third hut for?" Well, the man said, "Well, that's the church that I went to before I changed."
That's pretty good.
One I went to for a change of denominations.
Oh, wow. Can't even get along with himself, huh?
Yep, that was it.
Pretty good. I like it. That's pretty good. Okay. You ready?
Yeah, let's do it.
Are you really ready?
I don't know.
All right. It's not super long, but it's a little longer. So
I
hope I didn't tell this already. I keep thinking I have because I read these all off to Tanya, and I can't remember if I used them here, but hopefully not. So if I did say, wait, you already did that. So,
oh, man, you're taking so long to start. I'm going to go to sleep for you now.
All right. So reaching the end of his job interview, the human resources officer asks the young engineer, fresh out of Massachusetts Institute of Technology. He says, and what starting salary are you looking for? The engineer replies, well, in the region of $125 a year, depending on the benefits package. The interviewer inquires, well, what would you say to a package of 5 weeks vacation, 14 paid holidays, full medical and dental, company matching retirement to 50% of your salary, and a company car leased every 2 years, say a red Corvette? The young engineer sits up straight and says, wow, are you kidding? And the interviewer replies, yeah, but you started it.
Mm-hmm. You did tell that before.
Did I really?
About 99% sure. Yeah. Seriously.
Man. So
yeah.
It's getting deleted right now.
It ought to be an automatic loss just for telling the same joke twice.
Okay. Yes.
You got another one you want to read?
I don't know if I want to waste. Okay. I'll try it.
That's up to you. Seriously.
Let's do it. Okay.
I'm pretty sure. Because I remember that about halfway through it, I was like, yeah, if you didn't read it on the show, you read it to me off the show, and I don't think you would have done that because you don't usually hit me with ones that.
Yeah, I try not to waste it. No, I'll save my other one. I've only got one more in the bank right now, so I got to refill that bank too. But it's okay if I used it once and it's still good. People can vote for me.
That's why you've been paranoid about that. I bet you remembered that at some point one of them that you told you forgot to delete, and you wasn't sure which one it was.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to.
You've been saying that to me every week. Like even if you didn't say it on the show, like in the background, you've been like, I'm just worried if I don't remember if I've told this one yet. So there must have been somewhere in there you knew you forgot to delete one. It was going to come back.
We're going to run out of jokes eventually too.
Yeah, we may have to go a different. We may have to. We've been talking about that, and just for the you guys, and I think that's another thing. Just like with reselling, doing something like a podcast like this. I mean, we're always going to be able to talk, but it's going to have to change and ebb and flow from time to time. And at the end of the day, more than anything else, I know for me, and I think for Caleb too, I think I speak for both of us. We want to be ourselves. We resell. So we're going to talk reselling. But there's a lot of other things that we have in common and things in our lives that are important to us that if we continue to do this long term, it's going to come out probably more and more, and it's going to be hard for it not to, because eventually you run out of filler, and sometimes trying to create things is just creating filler to fill time. And while we enjoy some of those things, we also don't want to just be on here filling time every week. I'd rather it be something of substance. And even if that means that some maybe don't like it as well as others, or some go somewhere else, there'll be people to fill those spots. And if our audience is never big, but our audience is an audience that benefits from what we have to say. And I think most importantly for us is to be positive and be encouraging. And that includes not only about reselling, and we want to give good knowledge, best we can. I don't feel like I necessarily have a lot to give. I mean, I'm still relatively new to the reselling world, but I do feel like I operate on a fast learning curve most of the time because I'm big on studying and digging. And but that being said, we just want to share who we are, and we hope that can be a help to somebody, and who we are and who we know, because who we know matters way more than who I am. And I don't want you to see me when you look at me anyway. And I already see how God has opened doors through this and through my channel for me to be able to, I feel like, share him, and how others have reached out personally to me because of that. And if nothing else ever happens positive from me being on YouTube, that's enough for me. And,
absolutely.
So
100%. And we love you guys.
Oh, absolutely. So much.
I appreciate you.
Appreciate every one of you.
No matter if it's 1 or if it's 1,000 or it's 1,000,000, we appreciate you guys.
And this last week, it wasn't very many, but that's okay.
We got the faithful few. That's all we need.
That's what happens when we fall asleep at the wheel, Half the audience moves on, but that's all right. And that's the thing we would like. I think both of us would like to grow. We'd like this show to grow, but we don't want it to grow in a direction that we get tired with either. Yeah. We want to be excited about what we're talking about, excited about what we're sharing. And I think at the end of the day, podcasts in general are an escape from reality for a little while, a little bit. Sometimes it mirrors our reality, but it's the way for us to escape our own thoughts and to give us a distraction in the midst of our work, in the midst of our day. And if we're doing our job well in that over time, I think we will find our audience. And And that's what we're looking at. We want to find, we got to kind of discover who we really are going to be in the end, so we can really find who our audience is going to be in the end. And I think that's out there for us. But that's why we asked last week, what would y'all like to hear about? Those of you that are watching, all what really matters to you, what parts of the show, what things that we do bring up are more meaningful, because it may not be always the reselling talk that y'all like the most. And the more we understand the ones that are already loyal to watching our podcast or listening to our podcast, the more we will know what to focus on going forward, because that's probably the direction that's going to be more, the fit for us. But
right. Well said, sir. I'll just leave it at that. Gave you the final thought of the day. We'll see you guys next time, and be having some guests coming up for too awful long.
Yeah.
I was going to line us some up.
Yep.
And we appreciate you guys. Thank you for tuning in. Until next time, this has been the Two Old Guys. We'll see you later.
Out.